There are two alleys in the ballpark. One is the outfield area between the center fielder and the left fielder, and the other is between the center fielder and the right fielder. Let me tell you, that's where I like to hit 'em. By the time the fielder gets to it, the dust is just settling at third base, and I'm in with a triple. Yes, I love to hit those gappers. Oh, did I mention that gap is another term for alley? Well, there you have it.
Ants. Ants. You see them everywhere. They're on the leaves. They're on the twigs. I've eaten more of the creepy little critters than I'd like to admit. But when you hear the term ant killer, they're not talking about me. They're talking about a ground ball that's hit so hard and low to the ground it would kill any ants that get in its way. And if you hear about a worm burner, it means the same thing would happen to any worm unlucky enough to be where the ball is.
Authority is like what they call it when you're a hitter who swings a bat with awesome power and serious purpose. When these kind of players get a hold of one, it's like way out of the yard, you know. Catch you in the next time zone, Mr. Spaulding, dude. Man, what a righteous feeling to destroy a ball like that. It's like riding the ultimate wave.
I sit in back of home plate, and I stop the ball. Any questions? No, I'm kidding. Sometimes you hear people call the catcher a backstop because we are supposed to stop every ball that comes over the plate, no matter where the pitcher pitches it. A real backstop is a fence or screen or something behind home plate that keeps foul balls and very wild pitches from hitting the fans, making them drop their fern dogs and spill their drink.
The term bad hop usually means a ground ball that takes a hop in an unexpected way, like when it hits a rock or a bump or something else on the field. The result is often a base hit for the batter. As an infielder, I can only hope not to run into too many bad hops, but when they're coming off my bat, I'll take 'em. The opposite of bad hop is charity hop, which means a ground ball that bounces right to the infielder, waist high, as if it were served on a silver platter or something. It always seems that our team gets all the bad hops, and the other team gets all the doggone charity hops. Go figure.
Ball has two meanings, depending on whether you're talking about the ball or a ball. Now, the ball is the thing without which we'd have no game of baseball. I'm referring, of course, to the baseball itself, the pill, the pellet, the horsehide, the rock, Mr. Spaulding, or whatever else you want to call it. That little round thing, which every player and fan keeps their eyes on because it bears their hopes and dreams for victory. Now, a ball is the term for a pitch outside the strike zone that the batter doesn't take a swing at. If you collect 4 balls in the course of a single at-bat, that's called a walk, a base on balls, or a free pass. The responsibility for determining the strike zone, and if the ball is truly within it, falls solely upon the shoulders of the umpire, and a grave and weighty responsibility it is, let me tell you.
A balloon is what batters call a ball that comes in so slow and lazy, it just looks a whole lot bigger than a baseball really is. I've heard 'em called grapefruits or cantaloupes too. Whatever you call it, it's sure a fine thing to get one served to you when you're at the plate. Though I reckon it ain't gonna be me delivering it to you. No, sir. Y'all just gonna have to find some other pitching fool to serve them balloon balls to you.
The bang-bang play is one of the most exciting plays in baseball. though not necessarily through an umpire. Let me tell you why. You see, when the ball reaches a base, bang! At the same time as a base runner, bang! It's a real close play. A bang-bang play. Are they out? Are they safe? Nobody knows until the umpire calls it. The action happens incredibly fast. It's a miracle that the umpire can make any call at all. But that's their job. And you know, they're usually right, even if the fans don't see it that way.
Did you ever get your hair cut by a barber who just keeps talking and talking? Well, that's what a barber is in baseball. Somebody who talks too much on the field. They talk your ear off if you gave them the chance. You know, these kind of ball players make me want to give them a close shave under the chin when they're at the plate, which is another meaning for barber. A pitcher that throws close to a hitter's head. That is, by the way, how I got my name. A barber is also a pitcher who can shave the corners of the plate with great precision.
Behind my back, my buds have called me a base clogger, and I am deeply insulted by this attack on my abilities. Dude, a base clogger is a runner who's so slow that they, get in the way of the runner behind him. Ain't true with me, dude. No way. It's just that, due to my triumphant success as a hitter, I have become somewhat used to taking my sweet time when I launched a ball out of the park. So if those nervous Nelsons would chill out a bit, they would find there's always plenty of time to get around the bases if you slam the ball into the next galaxy.
A player's batting average is one measure of how good a hitter they are. It's figured out by taking their total number of hits and dividing by the total number of times they've been at bat. A player with a batting average of 300 is really quite good and tends to consistently make good contact with the ball. I'll bet you can count on one claw the number of players who've hit 400. The only player in recent years that's even come close to sporting a 400 average for a full season is that big, strapping fella on the Swamp Kings, Rock Rex Sampson. Oh, he's as scrappy as he is powerful, that one. Aye, that be true.
A player's batting stance is how he or she stands at the plate. There's a lot of different kinds of stances in the DinoMight League. You got your open stances like mine, where my front leg is positioned further away from the plate than my back leg, allowing me to get a great look at the pitch. Then you got your closed stances like the Stegosaurs, with their front leg just as close to the plate as their back leg. Oh, they generate a lot more power this way. Then you got those crazy raptor hitters with their wild leg kicks, which really don't fall into either category.
A bazooka is a strong throwing arm. Usually, you're talking about a catcher or fielder when you say they have a bazooka or cannon. I use my bazooka when those thieving hypsilophodons get cocky, try to steal second on me, and boom! I gun them down. They never know what hit them, and they think twice about trying to steal off me again.
A bench warmer is something that a good player never wants to be known as. It's what we call a no-account player, like some greenhorn sub just up from the B team, who spends the whole game sitting over there on the bench. They do nothing but keep the bench warm, 'cause the manager just can't bring himself to put the poor fella in the game, even when we are ahead. I reckon I'm truly grateful to them for keeping the old bench real toasty warm for the rest of us regular players.
The Venus flytraps at Wiggly Field do a great job of keeping big flies from buzzing in your ear, but they can't do a thing about the big flies that come jumping off the bats. You see, a big fly in baseball is a home run. When the wind is blowing at Wiggly in the hitter's favor, you can bet you'll see a lot of big flies leaving the park. And there isn't a darn thing those fly traps can do to stop them. Another term for home run that you hear a lot is long ball, which makes sense because when some slugger rips a ball, really gets a hold of it with the sweet part of the bat, it goes a long, long way.
Yeah, I can tell you what a bleeder is. It's a weakly hit ball that the batter beats out for a base hit. You know, usually it rolls slowly to some part of the infield grass and then just stops at the foot of a frustrated infielder. Man, that really ticks them off. You'll notice that us hipsy ball players get a lot of hits this way. They may be cheap, but they're effective. Bleeders are also known as squibbers and noobers. Just thought you'd like to know.
Yeah, I can tell you about the bonehead play. To make a bonehead play means to make an obvious mental error while fielding or base running. You know your physical errors, like bobbling a ground ball or throwing the ball over your teammate's head, well, they just happen, no big deal. However, when you throw a ball to the wrong base because you're out there daydreaming about Bronto burgers, well, that's a mental error, and your bonehead play just allowed 2 runs to score. Even big stars like myself make a bonehead play every once in a while, but you know I'm gonna make up for it with my bat, and you can take that to the bank, Jack.
The boneyard is a kind of make-believe place where they say old pitchers go when they're worn out, washed up, or otherwise worthless. I reckon you all seen this kind of pitcher. Their fastball just ain't humming no more, or their curve just ain't breaking like it used to. And y'all better believe that there boneyard is one place I never want to go.
When an infielder boots or kicks a ground ball, it means that instead of fielding it cleanly, it bounces off their glove or off their arm or off their foot or whatever. Anyhow, it ends up becoming an error, and the hitter reaches first base safely. So the fielder doesn't actually have to hit the ball with his foot to boot it, though that's where the term comes from originally. When you boot a ball, you just gotta shake it off and be ready for the next grounder that bounces your way.
You know how some folks gotta have their bread and butter with every meal? Well, it's the same kind of thing with a pitcher. They gotta have their bread and butter when they pitch. You see, that's the one pitch they rely on to get the hitters out. It's their best pitch, their knockout pitch. For me, my bread and butter pitch is my changeup. I'd probably be a run-of-the-mill minor league pitcher without it, you know. I just love to set up a hitter with some hard stuff, fastballs and sinkers, and then float a changeup in there and watch them whiff it nothing but air. Have a seat, mate.
I'm quite glad you asked. A breaking pitch is any pitch which has some kind of movement on it besides just the downward effect of gravity. Let me explain. If a ball is thrown naturally, without any special spin or grip, then the ball will go from point A to point B in a relatively straight line, with some downward movement caused by gravity. Now, if you put a curveball spin on the ball, or grip it like a knuckleball, then the ball is likely to break away from the straight path, which means it might move left or right, or perhaps drop more sharply as it reaches the plate. Curves, sliders, screwballs, knuckleballs, and sinkers are all breaking pitches. Often enough, you'll hear a play-by-play announcer call a pitch a breaking ball because they're not sure what kind of pitch it was, just that it wasn't a fastball.
How you doing? The term bring it is one I definitely know. It means to throw a pitch with great speed and power. You know, I'm really bringing it when my fastball is pushing the jugs gun to 99 miles per hour, and the pop of the catcher's mitt can be heard from the upper deck. It's gonna be a tough day for opposing hitters, let me tell you.
The bullpen now, that's what you call the place where pitchers spend their time warming up. Each team has its own bullpen, usually at the opposite sides of the outfield or along each foul line. It's got a regular mound and a home plate, the same as the ones on the field. Oh, but we used to have some grand times in the pen, we did, back when I was a hurler. There we'd be laughing, carrying on, telling jokes and sporting with the fans, sometimes sweet-talking the pretty ones. Ah, that was the life. Where was I now? Oh, sure, the bullpen. Sometimes they also refer to the whole lot of a team's relief pitchers as the bullpen. Just thought you'd like to know that.
When I hear something described as bush league, it usually means a player, or a kind of play, or even a way of behaving which is not proper for the big leagues. The bush part comes from the idea of playing ball way out in the country where the bushes grow thick, instead of the big city. In my humble opinion, bush league means playing the game without class, like with your shirt hanging out or your uniform an unruly mess.
Well, you hear those dinosaur pitchers say, change-ups are for wimps. Just throw the hard stuff. Well, excuse me. Not everyone can throw a ball 98 miles per hour. Being a good hurler isn't really a matter of how hard you throw the pellet anyhow. You gotta throw pitches that will fool the hitter, you know. Keep 'em off balance. That's just what a good changeup does. It's a pitch that looks like it's gonna be a fastball, and then all of a sudden, it hits the brakes. Swing, batter, 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 swing. The batter swings way too soon. Now that's fooling the hitter. Important thing is to make your windup look like a fastball is coming. In the right hands, the changeup can be a mighty effective pitch.
Chin music is a very familiar concept to an allosaur hurler like myself. In fact, it's not just a concept, but the way we do business. You see, chin music is a pitch that rides high and inside on a batter and just brushes by their chin. I'd say it's a wake-up call. You know, you get these guys who like to crowd the plate when they're up there, as if they own it or something. Well, I just have to show them who really owns the inside of the plate by serving them a generous helping of chin music. Once they get that message, then you punch them out with some heat on the outside corner. Oh, yeah!
Choke is not a very nice word to baseball players, or to any other athletes for that matter. It means you didn't do so good in a very important situation, like bases loaded, 2 outs, bottom of the ninth, your team is losing by 1 run. All you need is a little single, but you strike out. That's choking. Players who deliver in crucial game situations earn much respect in this league. As for you chokers, catch the bus back to the minor leagues.
Hey, bub. When you choke up on the bat, it means you move your hands further up towards the hitting end of the stick, so it feels like you got a shorter, lighter bat. What does this do for you? It gives you more control, and control is the name of my game. You lose some power, but, you know, compared to monsters like Sledge and Samson, my hitting power is nothing to write home about anyhow. I'll sacrifice a little power for control any day of the week, 'cause choking up gives me that extra control to slap those hits right past them. Makes them blink, you know, and that's all the time I need to get to first base. And once I'm there, I control the game! Ha!
Hey, all right, glad you asked. The cleanup hitter is the fourth hitter in the lineup, and they're in that slot for a reason. It usually means that they're a hitter with good power and a high batting average who could drive in a lot of runs. It's a great spot for picking up plenty of RBIs, or what I call ribbies, especially if you got players ahead of you who can get on base a lot. As a cleanup hitter, it's your job to clean up the bases by bringing in all those base runners. When I'm knocking in runs like that, sometimes I'm tempted to apologize to the pitcher. Sorry, man. It's nothing personal. I'm just doing my job. I never do, though, 'cause that's what the game is all about. A clutch situation is a key situation. It's when the game is on the line. One bad pitch or one good hit can put your team on the road to victory or send you down to defeat. When I think of who the clutch hitters are in this league, one guy comes to mind, Rip Van Sickle. He does more damage in clutch situations than any other player I know. I tell our pitchers, pitch around him. Don't give him anything to hit. Doesn't seem to matter. He'll find a way to beat us in the pinch when it counts. He just thrives on that extra pressure. Man, he is one tough cookie, a real clutch competitor.
A comebacker is what you call it when the batter hits the ball right directly back to the pitcher, like it was tied to a big rubber band or something. Sometimes when I feel like showing off a little, I'll pitch one low and slow and easy, so as the batter can't help but hit a comebacker. And I just leap up and snatch that sucker right out of the air. Well, I'll tell you, the fans love it, the team loves it, everybody's a hooting and a hollering, except for the guy that hits it and gets put out.
The count is the number of balls and strikes that the batter has at any given time when they're at the plate. The number of balls always comes first, then the number of strikes. A full count is 3 balls and 2 strikes, or as they usually say it, 3 and 2. This is a real moment of truth for both the pitcher and the batter. For the batter's got but one last chance to make a good show of theirself and hit the ball before they've either struck out or walked. The home plate umpire keeps tally of the count and lets everyone know where it stands.
You know, when I'm up there at the plate, it's a real war between the pitcher and me. We're both fighting for control of that all-important territory, the strike zone. That's one of the reasons why I crowd the plate when I hit, because I'm letting the pitcher know that I own the strike zone and that, well, if they're going to throw a pitch in there, then I'm just going to have to knock it somewhere. So, do you get the idea about what crowd the plate means? It means, when you bat, that you stand as close to the plate as you can. Pitchers get a little ticked off by this, so they throw it hard and inside. But I'm not intimidated, bub. I'm not backing down to nobody. Yeah, unless it's one of them T-Rex dudes and they're giving me one of those hungry looks.
If you're looking to learn what crush means, well, you came to the right dinosaur. To crush a ball means to hit it with great power, and if you watch me play, you're going to see a lot of that action, Jack. I just love the sweet crack of the bat when I really crush one. Man, it just doesn't get any better than that. You know what I mean.
I am both delighted and honored to have the opportunity to describe what a curveball is to you, since it is my favorite pitch. A curveball is a pitch which is thrown with a downward spin and snap of the wrist, causing it to curve from side to side and drop just before it reaches the hitter. A right-hander's curveball will move from right to left, while a lefty's will move from left to right. Another term for curveball is bender.
which gives you some idea of who invented and mastered the curveball. Yes, indeed, yours truly, Dr. Butch Bender.
One of the fundamental aspects of playing the outfield is learning to use your cutoff man. The cutoff man is the player who intercepts the throw from an outfielder and then relays the ball to the right base. A good cutoff man will line the outfielder up at the base they need to throw to, and then decide to either cut the throw off by catching it, or let it go through to the base. And you know, if you miss hitting your cutoff man, well, you better be ready to have your manager get on your case big time.
No, this is not the guy that gangsters use to settle their disputes. The designated hitter is a 10th player who goes to bat in place of the pitcher. You see, the pitcher's good at throwing the ball. However, they're not expected to be a good batter, too. They never had designated hitters in my day. And it's one of those things that makes me wonder what this game is coming to. I mean, how can you call someone a complete player if they can't swing a bat or hit the ball now and then? Well, then it's just a pet peeve of mine. And unfortunately, it's one rule in the Dynamite League rule book that I cannot rewrite.
In baseball, the dish is home plate. It's funny, but a lot of times when you're listening to a ball game, it sounds like they're talking about a banquet or something. Players feast on meaty offerings when they're hitting a pitcher hard, or a pitcher serves up fat ones when they're throwing pitches over the middle of the plate. And one term I find very personally insulting is when a player is thrown out at home plate. They are meat at the dish. I don't trust any dinosaur that has a real appetite for this kind of carnivorous baseball talk.
To do damage means to score runs. When I think of do damage, I can't help but remember Topper Sierra's career day last year against the Fire Spikes. Man, that guy was on fire. First inning, crash, a 3-run shot over the left field fence. Third inning, smack, another 3-run shot over the right field fence. Now, with 2 homers and 6 ribbies already, you'd think he'd be satisfied with all that damage. No way. Not Topper. Not on that day. I think some of the Hypsilophodon players on the other team got him all worked up or something. Anyhow, the 7th inning rolls around and we've got the bases loaded. Up steps Topper Sierra. Third pitch. Bam! Right over the center field fence for a grand slam! Yumpin' Yemeni! 3 dingers and 10 ribbies. Now that's what I call doing damage.
For a pitcher, to dodge a bullet means to get out of a real ugly situation. Let me give you an example. In a game against the Sour Losers last year, it was the bottom of the 8th and we were leading 4-3. After getting the first out, they loaded the bases on me with a base hit and 2 walks. Well, I bared down on Big Jaw Jackson, and I got that bad boy to pop up to the third baseman. 2 outs. Well, up steps Mr. Big Fly, Spike Taylor, strutting his big behind all the way to the batter's box. Just 'cause he got lucky earlier in the game and hit a 3-run shot off me, big deal. Well, this time I struck out that hot shot with 3 pitches to get out of that serious jam. How do you like that for payback? We went on to win the game, 5-3. Man, I really dodged a bullet in that 8th inning. Whew.
Down the middle is a pitch that goes right over the middle of the plate. If you're a hitter, that's where you want it. Easy to hit. If you're a pitcher, that's not where you want it. Too easy to hit. Down the middle also means the 4 fielders that play along the center line of the field. Catcher, second baseman, shortstop, and center fielder. A lot of people think the players down the middle are the key to having a strong team.
When I say I'm going downtown, you see, it usually doesn't mean I'm going to the business part of the city. No, sir. It means I'm planning on launching a homer deep into the seats. You know, you could say that ripping homers is my business, and that when I go downtown, I'm usually doing my job as the superstar power hitter you know and love. The pitch is going down 'cause Big Jaw Jackson is going downtown. You got that right, Jack.
Well, back in the late Cretaceous, ducks on the pond might have had a certain meaning to a hungry T-Rex looking for a duck-billed dinner. But in baseball, it means that there are runners on base. I got to admit, when those old ducks are on the pond, this T-Rex gets that hungry kind of feeling, just like my ancestors, except I'm hungry to pick up those RBIs. Yump and yiminy, you can bet those hadrosaur players are darn glad that I'm bagging those ribbies and not bagging them.
The earned run average, or ERA, is a way of measuring how well a pitcher is doing over the course of a season or a career. It's the average number of runs that are scored as a result of their pitching over a 9-inning stretch. An ERA under 3 is considered very respectable in this league. But if you have an ERA over 5, you should be considering finding another line of work. Back in the days when I was king of the hill, I'm proud to say that I kept my ERA under 2.50 right up until the day I retired.
Imagine a pitch that's so slow it makes a changeup look fast. Well, that's an ephus pitch. It's a slow pitch that's thrown overhand in an upward direction toward the plate, reaching a height of 25 feet or more. It's called a lob pitch, blooper pitch, or balloon pitch. You know, the commissioner of the Dynamite League won't allow us to throw a real high ephus pitch. He said something about not having a big enough computer screen. I didn't really understand what he meant, but maybe you do.
I'm the fella you want to talk to about the fastball. It's the most common pitch in baseball. Almost every pitcher has one, and it's usually the hottest pitch they throw. In my opinion, if you don't have a good fastball in this league, then you have no business being on the mound at all. Forget the wimpy off-speed breaking stuff. That's for apatosaurs and domeheads. 'Cause frankly, I don't need it. Remember, you can't hit what you can't see. And I'd have to say that my 95-mile-per-hour fastball fits into that category like a cheap suit on a rainy day.
A fat pitch, or just a fat one, is what you call a ball that comes surfing in right over the plate with no movement on the ball. No curving action, no dips, just straight and true with no gnarly stuff on it at all. It's totally easy to hit, even if it's cruising in fast. Shoo! When it comes in straight and steady, like a 6-foot ocean breaker on a breezy day, it looks so totally gorgeous that you just can't miss it, even if you got bogus vision like those half-blind stegosaur dudes.
Well, you've got to know what a fielder's choice is if you're ever going to become a scorekeeper. A fielder's choice is a ground ball that's scooped up by a fielder who tries to get a base runner out instead of the batter. The batter gets to first base because of the fielder's choice. As far as your batting average is concerned, it's the same thing as making an out.
To flag the ball down means that you reach out fast and catch it. Shoof! Snag that sucker just at the last second. You stop that ball dead in its tracks like a flagman stops a charging locomotive. Once, in a game last year against the Amber Aces, Ducky Doyle hit a ninth-inning line drive, and like greased lightning, I zipped over to the warning track, zip, and flagged that baby down for the final out. Like I've told you before, bub, I keep those gaps clean, squeaky clean.
With these claws, I just never had much use for a fork at dinner time, but they sure do help me throw a forked ball. Because you have to hold the ball with your first and middle finger spread far apart. You see, a fork ball comes in looking like a fastball. But because there's not much spin on the ball, it drops real sudden like just before it gets to the plate. Ooh, sugar! I do love it when I send those T-Rexes a-spinning on their heels, just trying to hit my fork ball.
Ay caramba! Ooh, it hurts just to think about it. A foul tip is a ball that just barely gets hit by the bat and comes screaming back towards the catcher's hands. Problem is, sometimes it's not the hand wearing the glove, or sometimes it hits you in the arm or the leg or something. Man, that hurts! Anyway, it counts as a strike, and if the catcher catches it with 2 strikes on the batter, then the batter is out. Foul tips are a big reason why the only dinosaurs that play catcher in the DinoMight League are the armored dinosaurs, the Triceratops and Ankylosaurs. It's just too dangerous to be behind the plate without any protection. Franchise player? No such thing. A team is a team. Everybody contributes. Well, I guess there are some really good players that a team can be built around. And you call that kind of player a franchise player. Sometimes they can carry their team into the playoffs. They are that good. Our team, the Swamp Kings, has Rock Rex Sampson. He is our franchise player. I call him La Roca Grande, which means the Great Rock. And our team is built around him.
It takes a free swinger to know a free swinger, so you came to the right man. A free swinger is a hitter who basically swings at anything that moves. What I mean is that they swing at a lot of pitches, period, whether they're in or out of the strike zone. You'll find that a lot of raptor hitters, myself included, are free swingers because we just love to rip the ball. You know, all the experts say that we should be more patient at the plate and draw more walks, but that just isn't what we do. Hitting ropes is what we do, and you can't stroke the ball if you don't swing the bat. Well, I have to admit, the term frozen rope is one of my personal favorites. A frozen rope is a line drive that's hit so hard that its path appears to be a straight line, you know, like a stretched out rope. A lot of ball players are only looking for home runs, but I'm more than happy to have frozen ropes jumping off my bat, even if they're just singles. I hear a lot of ball players use the short version of this term too. For example, they'll say, I hit a rope off this guy last time I faced him. Either way, if you hit enough ropes, you can hang a loss on the other team.
All right, stop pinching my plates. I'll tell you what get a piece of it means. Okay, when you're batting and you swing and you just make a little contact with the ball, well, that's what get a piece of it means. You just barely get a piece of the ball. You know, when you're up there and you got 2 strikes on you, you just gotta keep getting a piece of it to stay alive, because you just never know when a really meaty pitch is coming next. You know, a pitch that you can smack real hard. Spike Taylor hard. Get all of it is one of those phrases you hear a lot in this game, so you'd better know what it means. When a batter gets all of it, it means that they hit the ball solidly and with a lot of power. I'd say a ball hit like that is going places. At least a double, maybe more. And let me tell you, Mac, it feels so good to get all of a pitch because it means that you weren't fooled a bit by it. You knew exactly what was coming and you crushed it. It's like you had a schedule or a crystal ball or something. Okay, what do you need to know? Go deep? All right. As a special favor to you, I'll tell you what it means. I'll give you a clue. Go deep is a phrase you hear a lot in a sentence with my name in it. Yeah, I bet I gave it away with that easy clue. Well, just in case you still don't know, go deep means to hit a home run. Aha! Now I bet you're really upset at yourself if you didn't get it from my clue. Anyhow, I have to be extremely humble here and confess that I go deep quite often. You should know that another very similar phrase that is used a lot nowadays is go yard, and it also means to hit a homer.
My manager once told me, sometimes you're the hero, sometimes the goat. Either way, you gotta go out there the next day and do it all over again. You see, being the GOAT means that you failed when the game was on the line. It's a terrible feeling to let your team down. But I remember what my manager said, and that helps me to shake it off and get ready for the next game. You know, wearing the horns or being the GOAT every so often is part of the game. Just like being the hero is too.
What could make a pitcher happier than to give goose eggs to the other team? You see, a goose egg is a big old 0 up on the scoreboard, meaning no runs for the inning. Those zeros do kind of look like eggs. If your pitcher can put a bunch of them up there, like some kind of Easter bunny or something, then y'all got a good chance of winning.
A gopher ball is a pitch that you know is going to be smacked for a home run as soon as it leaves a pitcher's hand. Dude, I'm totally serious here. Even if sometimes it doesn't look any different than any other pitch, you just know that this pitch is going to go for a long ride out of the park. And that's why they call it a gopher ball, 'cause it's going to go for a long ride. Dude, let me say that if you're a pitcher and you're hurling gophers, it's going to be a pretty ugly sight seeing all those runs on the scoreboard. Most heinous, dude.
There are some disrespectful players and fans out there that think it's funny to call outfielders grazers, 'cause they think all we do is stand around like a bunch of cows grazing in a field. Of course, there are a few outfielders that really are grazers, like those big dumb lead-footed stegosaurs. Couple of games back, these two stags ate up most of left field by the 7th inning. But nobody ever calls us hipsies grazers. No way, bub, 'cause we do not stand around. Ever. When we're out there in the field, there's no such thing as a base hit because we just can't stand to let those balls drop in.
The ground rules are a special set of rules, most of which are made up for a particular ballpark, because all of your ballparks are just a wee bit different. It could be that there's a certain kind of obstacle, like a tar pit or a quicksand area. Or it could be that the fence is a different height, or even has electricity running through it. Most ground rules are pretty much the same for ballparks everywhere. Like the one that says a batter gets to take 2 bases if the batted ball bounces in fair territory, then goes over the fence or into the stands. That's what's called a ground rule double. You should know that fly trap doubles, tar pit doubles, and quicksand doubles are all special kinds of ground rule doubles.
To gun down a base runner is to throw them out with a really strong throw. It helps to have a cannon for an arm to gun down a runner. Runners can be gunned down by a catcher when they're trying to steal second. Or you might see one of those duck-billed hadrosaurs in the outfield gun down a runner trying to make it home. Hi caramba! That's when you hear someone yell, "Man, that duck's got a gun!"
When you got handcuffs on, it's real hard to do anything with your hands. Well, it's the same way for a fielder sometimes when a hard-hit shot comes their way. They just can't get a handle on it, so it handcuffs them. Now, when I handcuff the other team, it doesn't mean I hit hard liners at them. How could I? I'm a pitcher, and pitchers don't hit in this league. No, you see, a pitcher handcuffs the other team by holding them to very few hits. They're baffled. They might just as well be handcuffed and shackled. Oh, did I mention shackle? Means the same thing as handcuff. You get the picture?
This is a kind of tricky play that's set up by the manager when they've got a hitter with lots of bat control. Here's how it works. As soon as the pitcher releases the ball, the runner on first base, he makes a dash for second. Well, quick as a wink, don't you know? The shortstop or the second baseman moves to cover the base, leaving a gap in the infield defense. The batter tries to hit the ball into that gap where there's nobody waiting to catch it. If they hit it right, the runner can usually make it all the way to third. But if the batter swings and misses, the runner could be thrown out. And if they hit a pop fly ball, the runner will likely go down in a double play. Oh, it's a tricky move, but a good one if the batter can pull it off.
Hitting for the cycle is one of those rare achievements in baseball. It means that a hitter hit a single, a double, a triple, and home run, all in the course of one game. Many players go through a whole career without hitting for the cycle. Of course, those lazy ankylosaurs can go through a whole career without hitting a triple. They're so darn slow. Without a doubt, Raptor players are the most likely to hit for the cycle because of our lethal combination of speed and power. Yeah, I suppose those big Rexes are pretty good at it too, but we got more style.
Yeah, I'll tell you what a hot corner is. I should know because it's my job to play it. The hot corner in baseball is third base. It's named that because the third baseman gets a lot of hot shots, screaming off the bats of hard-hitting righties. You gotta be quick as a saber-toothed cat to play third base. You know, have really fine reflexes. Man, I remember one rocket that came at me and ripped my glove completely off my hand. My glove and the ball ended up in shallow left field, and the fellow that hit the shot ended up on second with a double. Let me tell you, in strict confidence, most other players being inferior to myself, wouldn't have got any leather on it at all.
Hot dogs. I like to eat them, but I hate to see them on the baseball field. A hot dog is a traditional food that you might find in ballparks, but it also means a player who shows off and tries to get everybody to pay attention to him. Also, a player who is a showboat or grandstander is somebody who plays to the folks in the stands. You will find many of those thieving hypsilophodons are hot dogs. I like to chew them up and spit them out when they try to swipe bases on me.
In the hole has a few meanings in baseball. The first meaning is when you're behind in the pitch count. If you're the batter, that means that you have more strikes than balls. If you're the pitcher, it's just the opposite. There's more balls than strikes. When I'm at my stellar best, I'm keeping those hitters in the hole most of the time. With regards to batting, in the hole means the ball that's hitting the gap between the two fielders, especially between third baseman and the shortstop. Ever so often, the shortstop goes deep in the hole to get the ball, and then he throws the runner out. My, it's one of the finest plays in baseball. Oh, and finally, in the hole can mean a player who is still in the dugout, but will be on deck next. Hope you got all that, sugar.
There are a few hitters in DinoMight Baseball who have mastered the inside-out swing, but not me. Someday, maybe. Anyhow, with an inside-out swing, the inside part of the bat, where your hands are, moves ahead of the barrel of the bat. If the hitter connects, the ball will usually go to the opposite field. That's right field for a right-handed hitter, or left field for a left-handed hitter. Good inside-out hitters are known to go the other way quite a lot, especially if they're served a steady diet of outside pitches.
You darn right I know what jack one out means, Jack. To jack one out means to hit a ball a long, long way, which means it's up and out of the yard. You put the same kind of lift on the ball that a car jack puts on a car, or something like that. All I can say is that when Big Jaw Jackson jacks one out, it gets out of here in a big hurry. You know what I'm saying.
You know, I love the Jugs gun because it shows the fans just how hard I really throw. The Jugs gun is a device which uses something called radar to measure how fast the pitch is thrown. It displays a number in miles per hour, which is what MPH stands for. Yeah, the Jugs gun at DinoMight Baseball goes up to 99 miles per hour, and a lot of times I think I'm throwing harder than that. But the darn thing just doesn't go any higher. Well, I have to say, you won't find many pitchers in this league that ride the 99 like I do.
In most cases, the term junk refers to pitches that are thrown slowly and in a tricky way so as to fake out the hitter. Pitches like your breaking balls and your change-ups. Quite often, pitchers who do not have a great fastball or the ability to throw with a lot of velocity rely on their junk pitches to get hitters out. You'll observe that the Pachycephalosaurs use a lot of off-speed breaking pitches very effectively. I'd have to say that we're the junk ball wizards of the DinoMight League.
Keystone is another term for second base. The fielders that cover second base, the shortstop and second baseman, are known as the Keystone Combo. If a team has a Keystone Combo that's solid defensively, and they've got a sinker baller on the mound, then you're going to see a lot of ground ball outs and double plays. It's a tough combination to beat.
A knuckle curve is a pitch that acts a lot like my split-fingered fastball. It's a curve that's thrown with a knuckleball grip, which makes it drop just before the batter starts their swing. Now then, if I do it right, the drop happens when it's too late for the batter to change their mind, particularly if it's one of them that are really big herbivores with the little itty-bitty brains, though I ain't gonna name no names. I reckon the knuckle curve is the best old pitch I ever did learn.
Slow, tantalizing, darn hard to catch, and even harder to hit. That's what a knuckleball is. It's a pitch that's thrown slowly and with almost no spin on the ball, so it kind of dances and wobbles and bobs and drops in a way even the pitcher can't quite predict. It's even more effective when the winds are blowing it. This pitch gets its name because the pitcher grips the ball against their knuckles or fingernails when they throw it.
Now, occasionally, you're in a game that becomes a laugher. Now that's when one team has outscored the opposition by so many runs it becomes a joke. Well, of course, you want to always be where I am, and that's on a team that's scoring all the runs. Now, in a true laugher, late in the game, you could put in all the players that don't usually get a chance to play, giving your everyday players a chance to rest up for the next game.
Yes, the lazy fly ball is a fly ball that is not hit too terribly hard, causing it to hover in the thermal updraft. I mean, hang up in the air long enough to be caught easily. Sorry. Without a doubt, the lazy fly ball is a pitcher's best friend because 99.9% of the time, it's a guaranteed out. And another thing, if you've got those lazy, slow-moving stegosaurs playing outfield for you, then a lazy fly ball is about the only fly ball those lumbering oafs can catch.
When I say I'm into leather, it doesn't mean into wearing leather pants or jackets. No, that's Big Jaw Jackson's thing, not mine. What I'm trying to say here is that, in baseball, leather means a baseball glove. So a player like myself who's into leather really knows how to use their glove and play great defense. If you get some leather on a ball, it means you touched at least part of the ball with your glove while you were trying to field it. Better yet, a game that's jam-packed with stellar defensive plays is said to be full of leather. You see, leather is a real versatile term. It can be used in many different ways and in many situations. You know, just like a real good utility player.
So do you want to learn more, eh? Okay. To leg it out means to make it to a base safely before the ball does. Heapsy players don't hit a lot of big flies, but we sure do leg out a lot of base hits with our blazing speed. Do you know? We really keep the fielders on their toes. Those big lumbering ankylosaurs and stegosaurs are so slow. They always get thrown out. Not us Heapsies though. We're a slippery breed. Just try to catch us if you can.
Lots of teams have their team names written across the chest of their uniforms, or what I call unis. And of course the names are made with letters. You following me so far? So you throw a pitch that's as high as the batter's chest, and it's called letter high. Get it? Sometimes it's a strike, sometimes a ball. It depends on how the umpire's calling them. You know those umpires. You gotta be mighty careful throwing letter high fastballs, 'cause that's where the wheelhouse is for a lot of good hitters in this league. Of course, a lot of your weaker hitters will have a mighty hard time catching up to these babies.
I'm sure you've heard before that too much candy isn't good for you. Well, this is indeed the case for pitchers when it comes to lollipops. Let me clarify this point. You see, a lollipop is a soft pitch that doesn't break like it should, making it extremely easy to hit. When I throw a hanging curve, which means that it's a curve that doesn't break very sharply, it looks like a scrumptious lollipop to the hitter, and it might just end up in the seats. When a pitcher is throwing lollipops out on the mound, it usually means they need to make an adjustment in their pitching mechanics, like the motion they use to throw the ball or the way they grip the ball.
Lose a step? Lose a step? Who are you trying to say is losing a step, huh? Not me. I'm still just as fast as when I broke into this game. Usually old players, you know, like 30, lose a step or two, so they're not so fast as they once were. Of course, us Heapsies are so fast we can afford to lose a step, and still we will be faster than most other players, stealing 40, maybe 50 bases in a season. I'll retire when I lose a step because I just love to run.
Dude, your bud Goliath can help you with this one. The term lumber means baseball bat. I guess it's 'cause they start out as lumber, and not just any bogus old lumber. Get out of here, dude. It's gotta be just the right kind of hardwood, like white ash or hickory. Sometimes I confuse the term lumber with log, which is a super long surfboard that weighs a ton. My own personal preference is a bat which is as big and heavy as the rules allow. Almost as huge as my surfing log. Dude, now you see why I get confused. By the way, my fans have nicknamed my bat the Sledgehammer, as a tribute to your bud, Goliath Sledge.
Massage? Yeah, I know what massage means. I should, Jack, 'cause I do it all the time. Massage means to hit the ball hard, to smoke it. When I'm hitting in the groove, massaging every pitch I see, you just can't get me out, man. You throw me your best fastball, your nastiest slider, your most wicked curveball, it just don't matter. I'm gonna massage whatever you got to offer, Jack.
Well, you must have seen pictures of a matador dodging an angry bull in a bullfight. It's pretty amazing how he gets out of the way at the last second. In baseball, it's not so spectacular, because a matador is a timid infielder who gets out of the way of the ground ball when it's coming at him. He just wave it on by, because that's what happens when they're scared of something coming at them so fast. Hey, you won't find Spike Taylor playing any matador defense, Mac. No way! There ain't a ground ball out there that I'm afraid of.
The term meat has a few meanings in baseball, as well as being a very popular term in the Sampson household, especially around dinner time. It's used to describe the fat part, or barrel, of the bat. Man, you get solid contact when the ball connects with the meat of the bat. When it comes to lineups, the third, fourth, and fifth hitters are often referred to as the heart, or meat, of the order. They're the big hitters who are going to generate a lot of runs for you. Finally, meat is an affectionate way of addressing a fellow ball player in the same way one would use, hey man, pow, or bub. For example, hey meat, how'd you do at the plate today? I particularly like calling rookie plant eaters meat, just to get a reaction. A money player is a player that a team counts on to come through when they need a win. They may be a hitter who gets a lot of clutch hits or a pitcher who wins a lot of ball games. Either way, every team needs to have a money player or two. As the team owner, you may need to keep their bellies full of fern dogs, Bronto burgers, or swamp nuggets. Why? Because when they win a game with a late inning tater or pitch a shutout, you say to yourself, man, I'm glad I added that extra ton of choice morsels to that player's salary.
No, this is not like what you get when you shoot a brontosaur out of a cannon. Or what you get when you cruise to the doctor and he whips out this, humongous hypodermic needle. No, dude, let me tell you what a monster shot is in baseball. It's a Boku home run of majestic proportion, dude. It's a home run rocket that looks like it's gonna land on another planet. I most humbly admit that monster shots are as familiar to me as seagulls on the beach. Dude, when I launch a monster shot, the fans go wild, radically out of control. It's an awesome sight to see, like a bodacious party with free pizza.
I remember one game way back when I was a rookie hurler. My manager yelled to me, "Go out there, Bronski, and mow 'em down!" Well, lacking the experience and intelligence that I have now, I headed out to the mound and started munching on the infield grass. He yelled, "No, Bronski, make like a lawnmower and mow down them hitters!" What he meant was no messing around. Just get those hitters out in order. To this day, my teammates still razz me about that one.
A nail biter is a game that's real scary close. like when it's the bottom of the ninth with the score tied and the bases loaded, and I'm pitching to their best hitter. It's 3-0, and the fans are so quiet you can hear their bellies rumble. Boy, howdy, I'm here to tell you that's a real nail biter, and I've got some serious nails to bite.
There are some players in this league who can turn numbers into triples, and you're looking at one. In fact, I'd go so far as to say you're looking at the master. Hey! Let me describe what I mean here. You see, a number is a weak hit that goes off the handle or the end of the bat, and it kind of looks like a bunt. The fielders are so surprised that the batter usually gets an easy base hit. Now, if you happen to be the reptilian rocket, which I just so happen to be, well, then you proceed to steal second and third base, and voila, you got yourself a triple. Easy money, bub. Easy money.
Yeah, I'm no mathematician, but I do know about numbers in baseball. The term numbers refers to a player's personal statistics. As a hitter, if you're putting up numbers, that means you're generating impressive stats in most of the important categories. Homers, RBIs, average, and stolen bases, and like that. The only thing some players care about is their own numbers. They go to the ballpark, they put up the numbers, and they go home. Whether they win or lose, it just doesn't matter. Well, Big Jaw Jackson is not that kind of player. Yeah, I put up the big numbers, but I also hate losing. I win a lot of games with my bat, which means I got the prime cuts from the team's meat locker. You catching my drift there, Jack?
Off the table is how they describe what happens when I pitch a split finger or a knuckleball that drops just before it gets to the plate. Just picture it rolling straight as an arrow along the table, and then real sudden-like, it just drops off the end. Now, when I got my splitter working, there ain't nothing those poor hitters can do, 'cause it's dropping off the table and clean out of sight.
The term off-speed is a general term for any pitch that isn't thrown at full speed. You got your curves, your sliders, your changeups. They're all off-speed pitches. You know, if you just pitched one fastball after the other, the hitter would eventually time it just right and knock it out of the park. But if you mix your fastball with your off-speed pitches, you keep 'em guessing. Should they choke up for the fastball? Should they sit back on the curve? They're just not going to hit you so well if you're mixing in the off-speed stuff.
Taking an offer is not the most terrific thing, let me tell you. It means you didn't get any hits in a particular game. Like, maybe you were 0 for 4, or 0 for 3, or 0 for whatever. Point is, you were 0 for something, which means you were 0 for the day. If I say over here again, I just may have to gag myself, if you know what I mean. Anyhow, another term for not getting any hits is collar. Boy, you start taking a few collars in a row, and you find yourself in a major league slump. Let me tell you, your batting average takes a serious nosedive.
When a player's on deck, it means they're waiting to bat next. They stand in the on-deck circle in front of their team's dugout. While they're waiting to bat, they do a little stretching and loosening up by taking a few practice swings. That helps to keep the game moving, too, because the next batter is closer to the plate and ready to go when it's their turn to bat. Being a pitcher, I hate it when that on-deck batter takes their sweet old time getting to the plate.
The payoff pitch is when the count is full. The batter has 3 balls and 2 strikes. It's called the payoff because something has got to happen. The batter must get a hit, be walked or strike out, unless, of course, they foul the ball off. In that case, it's another payoff pitch. It can be one of the most exciting moments of the game. Hearts pump a little harder, bellies rumble a little louder, 'cause on the payoff pitch, you know something has got to give. The end result may be good or bad. It depends on which team you're rooting for, but it's always mighty exciting.
Playing a little game of pepper just before a big game is a terrific way to loosen up. And let me tell you, I need to be loose. Pepper is when a small group of players get together at close range and one of the players hits grounders back to the others who are tossing the pitches to him or her. The way we play it, if one of the fielding players catches a batted ball on the fly, then it's their turn to bat. It's a great little game for working on hitting and fielding reflexes. I highly recommend it. You know, you might have seen those no pepper signs at some ballparks. Well, it doesn't mean to double up on your salt intake, but rather that they don't want ball players playing pepper in that part of the field.
A perfect game is one that's not only a no-hitter, but one where the opposing team never even gets a single batter on base. It's a game where the pitcher retires every last one of the opposing team's batters. You know, I was lucky enough to see it happen once myself, back when I was a rookie pitcher for the Thunder Lizards, and Al McSorley pitched his famous perfect game against the Diamond Claws. Oh, but it was a rare and beautiful sight to behold. Even today, it brings a tear to my eye to recall the grace and mastery of his performance.
Being in a pickle or in a rundown means that you're caught between the bases and you have a fielder on either side of you trying to tag you out. I hate it when that happens. If you can keep the fielders throwing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth a lot of times, then you increase your chances of being safe, because sooner or later, one of them is going to chuck the ball over the other guy's head. Also, it gives the runner behind you a chance to advance to the next base. See? You gotta use your head in this game.
Pilfer is another word for what I do best, steal bases. Let me tell you, I am the prince of pilfer. When it comes to bases, I pilfer 'em any which way I can. Second base, no problem. Third base, no biggie if I get a good jump. Home plate? Well, that's a little bit more challenging. You know, if swiping bases was a crime, I'd be at the top of the most wanted list. Oh yeah, they don't call me the Pilf Master General for nothing.
A place hitter is a hitter who can hit or place the ball anywhere in the park. This means they can take advantage of where the fielders are playing them or the kind of pitch they get. It takes a lot of skill and practice to be a successful place hitter, and very few have mastered it. I work on hitting it where they ain't each day, and maybe someday I'll be considered one of the better place hitters in the DinoMight League.
Yeah, of course I know this one. What do you take me for, Stegosaur? To plant one means to bury a tater in the seats. You know, if there are any other terms for homers that you're not sure about, you can always come to your man, Big Jaw Jackson. I know all the answers when it comes to slamming taters, 'cause that's what I do. You can count on me like my team counts on me to do big-time damage day after day after day. Let me tell you, I don't disappoint. You getting my picture,
A pop is a high fly ball that usually ends up being caught by a fielder. You might hear it called a pop fly or a pop up. That can be very frustrating for a batter because it probably means they didn't hit the ball very well. But it can be more embarrassing for a fielder who does not catch an easy pop up. Pop also means the speed and sound of a really good fastball. As a catcher, fastballs with a lot of pop can cause my hand a lot of pain, but I bite the bullet and call for more of them anyways. Finally, you might hear someone say that the hitter has pop in his bat, which means they hit the ball with real good power. The ball really jumps off their bat.
You know, every league has its share of Prima Donnas, and the Dynamite League is no exception. Now, I'm not going to name any names here, because that's just not my style. But I will state that Ducky Doyle is no prima donna. Thank you very much. You see, a prima donna is a player who's kind of like a spoiled brat. They always gotta have things their way. You know the type, moping around and complaining to everybody about one thing or the other. Like a hitter who's unhappy about their spot in the lineup, or a starting pitcher who's upset because they get sent to the bullpen for a few games. You just gotta learn to get along with these kinds of players, because there's one on every team.
Dude, a pull hitter is a batter whose timing is always just a tad early. If they're a right-hander, they pull the ball to left field. And if they're a lefty, they pull the ball to right field. With the pull hitter, you always know where the dude or dudette is gonna hit the ball. And knowing where the ball is gonna go means the fielders know just where to hang out, which is like a humongous advantage. No lie, dude, I ain't lazy, but if I was a fielder, I'd want to save wear and tear on my precious well-tanned hide.
Pulling the string is one of those things we Bronto pitchers do better than anybody. And I'm not talking about playing with any yo-yo or flying a kite. I'm talking pitching here. When you pull the string on a batter, it means that you go through your pitching motion as if you're going to throw a fastball and then change up and glide a slow one across the plate. The batter swings way early, thinking it's a fastball, and the umpire yells, "Strike three! You're out of there!" before the pitch even reaches the catcher's mitt.
I'm very proud to be called a Punch and Judy hitter, cause a heat is a heat, right? My job as a leadoff hitter is to get on base any way I can, so I can steal a base or two and eventually score. As a Punch and Judy hitter, I don't hit the ball too hard, but I place my hits around the field where the fielders can't get them. Placing the ball is not so easy when the pitchers are throwing the ball in all kinds of ways. Inside, outside, hard, soft. Who knows where and how fast they're gonna pitch you next? I just gotta make contact somehow and get on base. You know, then I can wreak havoc on the base pass.
Well, I guess I gotta tell you what rally means now, huh? Well, all right. A rally means either to score a bunch of runs or to come back from behind late in the game to win it. That's one of the great things about this game. You could be playing inning after inning and neither team scores a run, and then whammo! One of the teams rallies for 6 runs. Now, the losing team ain't too happy about this offensive explosion, you know. So, in the bottom of the 9th, they rally for 7 runs to win it. Man, oh man, I love this kind of action, and it's tailor-made for a big guy like me. You might say it's Spike tailor-made.
So you want to know what repertoire means? Well, let me put it quite simply. It's a pitcher's collection of pitches. In my own personal repertoire, I have a fastball, a curveball, a screwball, and my special pitch, which I use in those crucial situations when I need to get a tough hitter out. You'll discover that most dinosaur pitchers have a potent repertoire to choose from, but only the best pitchers know how to use those pitches well. I love to set up a hitter with a mixture of off-speed curves and screwballs, and then blow a fastball right past them when they're not expecting it. Simply brilliant, my friend. Yes, brilliant.
Whether it's made of pine or mahogany or aluminum, the bench is always called the pine. So when you're not on the field or at the plate, you're sitting in the dugout on the bench, usually chewing gum or sunflower seeds or itching the side of your nose. So the term ride the pine means that you spend a lot of time on the bench. You know, almost every ball player has to ride the pine from time to time. Maybe it's because they're starting out in a new league, or because they're in the middle of a miserable slump. Or maybe the manager just wants to try another player out for a while.
Let me tell you, you just don't serve one right down the pipe to Big Jaw Jackson. I'll tell you why. Because right down the pipe means the pitch is right out over the middle of the plate, and that means I'll hit it right out over any wall. Let me say that when the count is in my favor, I'm licking my chops, 'cause I know the pitcher's gotta put one right down the pipe or risk giving me a free pass to first base.
Now, the term rip is one of the greatest baseball terms of all time. And not because it just so happens to be my first name. No. It's so great because of the way it sounds. Rip. When you rip a ball, doesn't it sound like you're tearing the cover right off it? Well, you don't have to go that far, but to rip the ball means to hit the ball real hard for a base hit, like you're really putting the hurt on old Mr. Spaulding. You know, it's nothing personal, Mr. Spaulding, but you're really just another ball in my eyes, so when I'm at the plate, I gotta rip you as hard as I can.
When someone says a pitcher has a rubber arm, they're not talking about some kind of stretchy special power. They're talking about a hard-working, ready-to-go kind of hurler. You don't see that from too many young pitchers that desire to say, "Just give me the ball and let me get him out." A rubber arm relief pitcher has a strong arm and can work in a lot of games for you.
A sacrifice is when the batter bunts or hits a fly ball that allows a runner to advance or score. The batter's out, but it doesn't count against his batting average. If the runner scores, the batter gets credit for a run batted in. Now, if there's more than one man on base, and one of them gets put out in the play, then the batter gets no credit for it at all. A sacrifice is a noble piece of teamwork. And it's teamwork like that that makes this sport the grand pastime that it is.
That's what Mr. Spaulding sounds like when you spank him real hard with the bat. And that's what a screamer is, a ball that's hit real hard by the bat. I recall a game last year against the Fossil Furies. The score was 0-0, and Ali Barber was throwing his usual 95-mile-per-hour bullets at us all day long. He was absolutely overpowering. Anyway, it was the bottom of the ninth, and I stepped up to the plate. On the first pitch, he grooved a fastball right over the plate, and I hit a screamer to the gap in left center. The ball hit the wall so hard that it took a wacky bounce back towards the infield. I just kept running as hard as I could, and the ball just kept rolling away from the outfielders. By the time they got to it, I made it all the way home with an inside the Parker, and we won the game 1-0.
Well, hello again. I welcome your inquisitive nature. I, too, am always seeking answers when it comes to the game of baseball. It would certainly be a pleasure to tell you about the screwball. It's a pitch that's thrown with a roll of wrist from right to left, if you're a right-hander, causing the ball to break from left to right, just the opposite of a curveball. It's a very difficult pitch to throw, and especially challenging to master, since it's thrown in such a screwy fashion. Another very popular term for screwball is scroogey. When I'm mixing my scroogies and curves, I really get the hitter guessing. Is it going to move to the right? Is it going to break to the left? It's a thinking man's game. Yes, it certainly is.
Well now, a scrub is what we call a greenhorn player from the B team that gets called in as a substitute. You know, fresh off the old minor league shuttle bus. It's also what we call a player from the other team that we want to insult and get all riled up, so he makes mistakes. Either way, it ain't exactly a compliment to a ball player. You know, if you're a regular kind of player, you gotta keep a close eye on them scrub players, 'cause you know they're eyeballing your position, watching and waiting for you to slip up, like a snake in a cornfield, waiting for an easy meal.
As a sinker ball pitcher, I've grown to really dislike those pesky seeing eye singles, which are batted balls that seem to find a hole in the infield as if they had their own set of eyes. Man, those things really shake my gizzard stones. I can have my best sinker ball working and still lose a ball game just because a few of those seeing eyes slithered past my infielder.
Well now, Sugar, I like to be as clean and well-groomed as the next Deinonychus. But when my manager sends me to the showers, it means I'm done pitching for the day. I like to stay in a game as long as I can. But sometimes those opposing hitters just seem to know what I'm gonna throw next. That's when it's better for the team if I hit the showers. I must admit, it's not always easy keeping that old team spirit on the long walk to the clubhouse. But I do my best.
Shag flies might sound like some kind of creepy, crawly insects, but you know, it really isn't. In baseball, to shag flies means to run down and catch fly balls during batting practice. It's a terrific way to work on your defensive skills, and it really helps the team out by speeding up batting practice. You know, when I'm shagging flies before a game at Wiggly Field, I play a little game with the fly traps out there. I try to shag more balls than they do. Have you ever seen what a ball looks like after one of those fly traps has gotten to it? Well, let me tell you, it's not a pretty sight.
When you're running flat out for that low line drive and you snag the ball just before it hits the ground, like you're grabbing it off your shoestrings, well, that's a shoestring catch, bub. Feels so good. I love it. I love it because my fans love it. I hear the crack and I see the ball coming straight off the bat and I'm moving. The crowd, they're up on their feet and they're thinking, well, he's fast, but nobody's that fast. And bam, I've got it because I am that fast. Whoa!
Oh my, there's nothing I love better than a whole lot of goose eggs in the runs column for the other team. A shutout is when my teammates and I keep the other team from scoring a single run. Y'all remember when I pitched a 2-hit shutout against the Rip City Raptors? Sugar, I had those boys checking their bats for holes. A special kind of shutout is a no-hitter. That's when the other team not only doesn't get any runs, but they don't even get any hits. Why, it's simply a pitcher's dream.
For the hitter, a sinker can be a real stinker. It's a fast-moving pitch that drops a lot just before the hitter can get a whack at it. The pitcher throws it like a fastball, but uses an inward roll of the wrist and a downward movement to get the ball to sink. A good sinker ball pitcher will cause a lot of balls to be hit on the ground because a sinking pitch is often hit by the lower half of the bat.
Sometimes the batter doesn't take a full swing at the ball. Instead, they just slap at it with a short, quick stroke, placing it where the fielders ain't. Slap hitting is my trademark. I'll try to slap it towards their sloppiest fielder or towards a hole between two fielders. And if this doesn't work, I'll just flat out beat the throw to first base. Zoom! To me, it doesn't even matter if a fielder is lucky enough to get their claws on it. It's a system that works for me, bub, but you gotta be blessed with great speed. I am truly blessed, indeed.
Next to my fastball, my slider is my best pitch. And some days it is my best pitch. A slider is a type of curveball that is thrown harder and slides out of the hand, unlike a curveball which is spun out of the hand. The amount of break on a slider is not as great as on a curveball, but it breaks a lot more quickly, making it a more deceptive pitch to hit. I throw my slider with almost as much velocity as my fastball, so it looks like a fastball, and then wham! The sudden breaking action hits you. Have a seat, bub.
I've been in a mess of them. A slugfest is when players on both teams are hitting the cover off the ball. In other words, a high-scoring game. Pitchers' ERAs are soaring so high in the sky like rockets, there's just a ton of massaging going on. I remember playing the Thunder Lizards once, and my home run in the bottom of the 12th won the game 19-18. Man, what a slugfest that was. There must have been a handful of fellas who had at least 2 homers in that game. Myself, I got 3, of course.
A slump is when a player just doesn't seem to be any good at what they're good at. No matter how hard they try, it's totally grim. It's like they got a Mondo Jinx on them or something. Sometimes it happens to a pitcher when their breaker just doesn't want to break no more. Or sometimes a great hitter all of a sudden, for no reason, just whiffs all the time, even on the fat ones. And sometimes the whole team gets into a slump. Like a couple of years ago when we lost 28 straight games. Dude, that was brutal. We felt like bagging it. But it doesn't mean you're totally bogus, just that you aren't happening for a while. Then, one day it's history, and you're back to breaking off pitches or hitting liners, and you're winning again, most triumphantly.
To throw smoke means to throw so darn hard that it looks like there's a trail of smoke following the ball, like it's on fire or something. Other terms which are used in a similar way to describe a fastball are heat and gas, and a pitcher who throws smoke is often known as a flamethrower or a fireballer. Hey, listen, when I see a hitter is not catching my fastball because their bat is too slow, I just keep on firing my heater because they just don't have a chance of hitting the gas.
Hey, this is what I am. Need I say more? Okay, I'll say more. A speed merchant is a player like me who is so fast they can outrun anything. A player with supercharged legs and a license to speed. You getting the picture, or am I going too fast for you? Not only are speed merchants great base stealers, but they're also great to have in the outfield because they run everything down. When I'm playing center field, I just don't allow any bloopers or gappers. No siree bub. In my dictionary, when I'm playing defense, blooper means fly out, and gapper is undefined.
Throwing a split-fingered fastball is one of my natural-born talents. I guess because of the natural way my claws grip the ball, kind of spread apart. I hold it with the seams parallel to my claws, and when I throw it, it comes out fast and looks straight as an arrow to the batter. But just before it crosses the plate, the spin makes it drop real sudden-like. Except now, the batter has already started his swing at where he thinks it's gonna be, but it just sort of sinks and whoosh! He swings and misses. Strike 3! Another one bites the dust.
Now you should know that spray heater has nothing to do with the mastodons that spray down the field with the water before a game. A spray heater is a player who gets heats all over the field, who doesn't just heat to one spot all the time. This makes it so hard for the other team to know where to position themselves in the field, so more balls might drop in for hits. Like my manager used to say, hit it where they ain't.
In a squeeze play, the batter tries to help the runner on third to make it home. They do this by bunting to a spot where no fielder can get to it in time to throw the runner out at the plate. Did you know there's two kinds of squeeze plays? If the runner starts his dash as soon as the ball is thrown, it's called a suicide squeeze. But if they wait to see if the bunt is good, it's a safety squeeze.
Well now, my manager has been kind enough on occasion to call me his staff ace, which would make me the best starting pitcher on the team. The staff ace is usually the first pitcher in the rotation. That's where I pitch, so I suppose there must be something to it. I try not to let it go to my head, though, because as soon as I do, some big slugger will take me out of the yard. I'd rather let my pitching do the talking anyway.
To step in the bucket means to pull your front foot away from home plate while you're hitting. Now, it's not a good way to swing the bat because you really want to step into the pitch. Usually, it happens when a hitter is fooled by a slower pitch, when they're thinking a fastball is on the way. Their timing is way off, so they step in the bucket. Get it? After I strike out a hitter this way, I like to razz him by saying, "Hey, did you get your foot a little wet, slugger?" Or I might say, "Didn't mean to spoil your nice shoe polishing job there, champ."
A stolen base is when a runner makes a dash for the next base as soon as the pitcher starts their throw. A runner's got to be fast and sneaky and know how to time their jump just right if they're going to successfully steal a base. Now you know, if they hesitate till the pitcher has already thrown the ball to the plate, a sharp shooting catcher can very likely fire the ball to the baseman in time to tag them out. Stolen bases happen fast, and the tag is often close, so an umpire really needs to be on top of things to call it fair and square.
The term stopper has a couple of meanings in baseball. The first meaning applies to starting pitchers like myself, who could be counted on to win a crucial ball game or stop a team's current losing streak. Believe me, Alibaba wants the ball in those kind of situations. Stopper also means relief pitcher who can be counted on in the late innings to shut down the other team. Another term for stopper is closer. You'll find most of the closers in the league are hard throwers with a tough, no-nonsense attitude, and I'd be willing to bet you they're probably Allosaur hurlers.
If the fielders are playing you straight away, it means that they're not shifted to the left or the right, because they know that you consistently hit the ball all over the place. With this defensive alignment, the center fielder is usually lined up with second base and home plate. Spray hitters, like myself, hit the ball well to all fields, so the fielders have to play me straight away. If they try to shift right on me, I'll make 'em pay by smashing one to left field.
Well now, there's three kinds of strikes. First off, and in its purest and most elegant form, it's a strike when the batter swings at the ball and misses it completely, clear and simple, with never the shadow of a doubt. It's also called a strike if the ball is thrown into the strike zone and the batter just stands there like a lamppost and doesn't take a swing at it. This one's not so clear and simple, and it's one of the finer points of this umpiring business, for it's up to the plate umpire to judge if the ball is truly in the strike zone and call it as he sees it. Lastly, it's also a strike if the batter hits a foul ball when they've less than 2 strikes against them. In theory now, the strike zone is the area over home plate that runs between the batter's knees and their armpits, and the true size of it depends on the size of the batter and their batting stance. But in the end, the final definition of the strike zone is up to the umpire to decide, and it's here that an umpire is called upon to exercise his many years of experience, his keen eye, and his fine judgment. Having a thick hide and a fearsome reputation doesn't hurt none either, 'cause many a scrapper with poor vision will disagree with you. When you tally 3 strikes against you, then you're out, and that's known as a strikeout. And I might add another term, that's the letter K, which comes from the middle of the word strikeout, and is used by the scorekeeper to record your out in the scoring book. Also, whiff is the sound that a bat makes when it's swung hard and misses the ball. So it's become another word for striking out. For instance, a pitcher might say that they'd whiffed their last 3 batters, or that a batter whiffed in their last at bat.
Well, I'm sure you've been told, put your stuff away. Well, if you're a pitcher, you don't want to put your stuff away, but rather put your stuff on the pitch. Let me be more specific. A pitcher's stuff is what they put on the ball to fool the hitters. It might be speed, or breaking action, or even control. If you've got your stuff working, it means that the hitters are having a genuinely hard time hitting your good pitches. Some days, you just don't have your good stuff, so you've got to pitch intelligently, or else you'll be visiting the showers early, my friend.
A table setter is a player who gets on base and into scoring position, which is second or third base. Do you know, it makes sense if you think of the infield as one big table and the base runners as food platters. A table setter is also a player who advances base runners to set up scoring opportunities, perhaps with a well-placed grounder or a bunt. Do you know, the team's best table setters are the leadoff and number 2 hitters, because they set the table for the big bats in the number 3 and number 4 spots. Once the table is set, of course, it's time to feast. Feast on the runs, that is.
To take a little off a pitch means to take some speed off the pitch. And it usually happens after throwing a normal fastball or 2. A lot of times, taking a little off a pitch results in taking a little off the batter's timing. And if you can do this, you can coax them into hitting a weak grounder or a pop-up. Not too shabby a result if you're the pitcher. You can safely say you won that battle. Take a little off of pitches every so often can be the difference between a mediocre pitcher and a dominant hurler.
To take out an infielder usually means to slide into them hard, so they can't throw to another base. This is sometimes the only thing a base runner can do to prevent a double play. It's one of the little things that smart base runners do, and it's the little things that win ball games. And you know, when a Raptor player takes out an infielder, oftentimes the infielder is so worried about getting spiked by our sickle claws that they panic and drop the ball. So much for the double play. They don't even get a single out. See what I mean about the little things?
Tater is one of those terms you hear a lot at the ballpark, so as a serious fan, you better know what it means. The term tater in most conversation is short for potato, but in baseball it means a home run. Yeah, I remember Graham Sampson telling me, "Rex, I'm just a meat and taters fella from the old school. I love eating meat and crushing taters." Well, he was a heck of a ball player in his day, so I'm told. I guess things haven't changed too terribly much. A great day for me is a 2-tater performance topped off with a couple of jumbo Bronto burgers after the game, served extra rare, of course.
Well, you know when you tattoo something, you put a mark on it, and it means the same kind of thing in baseball. I put my own special mark on a fat pitch by crushing it with great power. That's what tattoo means, to hit the ball real hard. I remember one game against the Rip City Raptors, I hit a line drive shot that didn't seem to go much higher than 6 feet off the ground and bounced off the wall for a double. Man, I tattooed that ball. Those moments are sweet, Jack. So sweet.
Well, now I'm getting teed off with all these questions. Nah, just kidding with ya. The term tee-off is one of those terms, believe it or not, that comes from the game of golf. You see, golfers hit the most powerful shots off a ball holder, called a tee. Well, there you have it. Same kind of thing in baseball. When you tee off on a pitcher, it means you hit a shot off him, just as if the ball is sitting on a tee right smack in front of your face. And when you get a bunch of batters teeing off on the pitcher, well, that's called a tee party. I bet you youngsters know what a baseball tee is because you use it to learn how to hit. You just set the ball on the tee and you whack it. Well, let me tell you, it's a great hitting tool for us big guys, too.
A Texas leaguer is a bad hit with a happy ending. It's a pop fly that has just enough oomph on it to get it past the infielders, then drops just in front of the outfielders. Infielders think it's going to the outfield, outfielders think the infielders are going to snag it. They both end up going for it, but by the time the dust settles, the batter's standing on first with a Texas League single. With my outrageous speed, bub, I have no problem at all turning these bloop hits into doubles or triples. They also call this one a dying quail, because that's just what it looks like.
Yoo-hoo! How you doing? When you're playing croquet, the object of the game is to hit the ball through the wickets. Well, I suppose that's where the baseball phrase, through the wickets, comes from. If you think of a fielder's legs as wickets, then a ground ball that goes between their legs and past them has just gone through their wickets. Some days, it just seems like fielders are out of sync or something. Ball after ball just seems to go through the wickets. You begin to wonder if it's a baseball game or a croquet match.
And he'll touch 'em all. I'm sure you've heard a sportscaster say that once or twice before. Well, the phrase touch 'em all means to hit a homer. It's a great feeling to break into a home run trot and touch all of those bases after jacking one out. Some players in this league take their sweet old time rounding the bases after they hit one, soaking up the glory. I'm sorry, I just can't do that because I don't want to show up the pitcher. I'm sure they feel bad enough for serving up a fat one.
A vacuum cleaner is an infielder who never seems to make an error on a ground ball. They just kind of suck up everything that comes their way. I love keeping the bases clean by vacuuming up every ground ball in my path. And let me tell you, the pitcher will love you for it. And when the pitcher is a big meat eater, like an allosaur, I like to keep them happy. Very happy. Another term for vacuum cleaner is Hoover, which comes from the famous vacuum cleaner company.
Hey, how you doing, bud? The term wheelhouse is the part of the hitting zone where a batter is most successful and dangerous. They're likely to hit their most excellent shots when the pitch is in their wheelhouse. For me, I really like pitches about belt high on the inside part of the plate. It's like a totally bodacious place for a pitch to hang. As a pitcher, you don't want to be hurling your pitches in the hitter's wheelhouse, unless, of course, you enjoy being pummeled and bruised by radical line drives.
Wheels are a player's legs. If a batter has good wheels, that means that they are fast. The infielders know when they feel the grounder, they'd better hurry the ball to first base or it'll be too late. On the other hand, if a player has a bad wheel, it means their leg is hurt and they can't run so well. If a hitter like this is at the plate, the infielders know that they can take their time on the grounder. Spin the ball around a couple of times and take a good look at it before tossing it to the first base for the out. I'll have none of that checking out the ball action when I'm at the plate because I'll burn them up with my speed every time.
Now, the wind-up is the motion that the pitcher goes through before they pitch the ball, of course. A wind-up should do two things. First, it should deceive the hitter by hiding the ball, so they have a mighty hard time figuring out what kind of pitch is coming. Second, it should allow the pitcher to throw their best pitches as well as possible, without any extra strain on their body. Take a look at some of the pitches in this league, and you'll see lots of different wind-ups. The Deinonychus pitchers use real high leg kicks, while the domeheads use more of a herky-jerky wind-up. Apatosaur pitchers, like myself, tend to keep our wind-up short and simple. Maybe that's why we have such great control and also remain injury-free.
Now, to work a pitcher means to make them throw a lot of pitches to you, usually in the hope of getting a walk. It also allows you to see every pitch in their arsenal so that later on, when the game's on the line, they can't throw any surprises at you. If everyone on your team works the pitcher, they'll tire more quickly and start making mistakes. Personally, I like to work a pitcher until they walk me so I can steal more bases and score more runs. You know what they say, a walk is as good as a hit.
Now, working the corners in baseball is not at all like working the street corners around the ballpark, if you know what I mean. Like selling souvenirs or fern dogs or something. It requires just a little more finesse than that. In baseball, to work the corners means to pitch on the edges of home plate. You gotta be mighty confident in your control to work the corners. It's like walking a tightrope. If you miss too often away from the plate, you'll be handing out lots of free passes. If you miss the corner and put it right over the plate, some big slugger's gonna go yard on you. Yeah, this old game can truly be a game of inches.
Ah, yes, the Yakker. I throw it quite often and with a great deal of precision, I might add. You see, Yakker is another term for a sharp-breaking curveball. Sometimes I throw 3 or 4 of these whippersnappers in a row, and that's known as a yak attack. Some other terms for a curveball that I find most interesting and entertaining are Uncle Charlie and the equalizer. Keep your ears open. You may hear these terms on television or out at the ballpark.
The strikeout may be a power pitcher's best friend, but for a sinker bowler, we just love that 6-4-3. The 6-4-3 is the most common double play combination in baseball. It's when a ball is hit to the shortstop, position 6, who tosses it to the second baseman on the bag, position 4, who then fires it to the first baseman, position 3, for the double play. I can't count the times I've been bailed out of tough situations this way. I have to say that the 6-4-3 is very good to me.